There is a type of person you have met at least once in your life. You didn't always notice them right away. They weren't the loudest in the room. They didn't demand your attention. But after they left, you noticed. Something shifted. The conversation got shallower. The energy dropped, and you found yourself thinking, that person was different. That is not an accident. That is not luck. And it has nothing to do with looks, charm, or social skill. The Stoics understood something that the modern world has completely reversed. We are taught to become more likable, more agreeable, more visible, more palatable to as many people as possible. The Stoics taught the opposite. They taught that the path to becoming truly irreplaceable was not outward. It was inward, a quiet, deliberate, almost invisible process, building something inside yourself that no one can copy, buy, or manufacture. This video is about those 7 rules, not rules about how to present yourself, rules about who to become, because you cannot fake irreplaceability. The moment you try, it disappears. Rule 1. Master one thing until comparison becomes impossible. Here is a question most people never ask themselves honestly. What do I do better than almost anyone I know? Not pretty good, not above average. Better than almost anyone. If you can't answer that immediately, that is the most important information you have received today. The Stoics had a saying, simple, brutal, and completely true. The man who is everywhere is nowhere. And in the modern world, that sentence describes the majority of people. You are trained to be versatile, adaptable, constantly upskilling across dozens of directions. And as a result, you become someone who does many things adequately and nothing extraordinarily. Mastery isn't about being perfect. It's about going so deep into one thing that you start seeing angles other people can't see. You start solving problems others can't solve. You start producing work that can't be replicated by someone who has only been doing it for 2 years. Think about the craftsmen of ancient Rome. A man who spent 20 years learning to work stone was not replaceable. Not because he was charming, not because he was likable, because he could do something that took 20 years to learn, and most people weren't willing to invest 20 years. The world has not changed. What has changed is that people now switch directions every 18 months because they're bored or anxious, or they saw someone online doing something that looked more exciting. You are not built for that path. The Stoic path requires depth. Pick the one thing that matters most to your purpose. Go further into it than feels comfortable, further than your competitors are willing to go. Keep going until you stop comparing yourself to others, not because you're arrogant, but because the comparison genuinely stops making sense. That is where irreplaceability begins. Rule 2. Say less than you know, always. You've been in rooms where someone talks constantly, filling every silence, explaining every thought, narrating their own expertise out loud. And you've been in rooms where someone barely speaks. But when they do, the room shifts. The second person isn't more educated. They're not more intelligent. They've simply understood something about silence that most people never learn. Restraint is a form of power. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his journal to be published. He wrote it for himself. He processed his thoughts privately, held his conclusions quietly, and showed up in the world through action. For centuries, no one knew those pages existed. And today, 2,000 years later, Millions of people are reading them. Epictetus was even more direct. He said we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that ratio. This isn't about being mysterious or playing games. It's about understanding what speaking too much actually costs you. When you over-explain, you signal that you need to be understood. When you volunteer every opinion, you signal that you need to be validated. When you narrate your plans before completing them, you drain the very energy that was supposed to fuel those plans. Here is what actually happens in your brain. When you announce a goal to someone, your brain treats the social acknowledgement as partial completion. The drive drops before you've done anything. The Stoics knew this intuitively. Neuroscience confirmed it 2,000 years later. So practice this deliberately. In any conversation, say 70% of what you plan to say. Hold the last 30%. Not because it's not worth sharing. Because the discipline of restraint trains your mind to select only what is truly necessary. And people who speak only what is necessary become impossible to dismiss. Rule 3. Do not explain yourself. Let your actions speak across time. There will be people in your life who misunderstand you, who misjudge your motives, who form wrong conclusions about who you are. And the impulse, deep, almost irresistible, is to correct them, to clarify, to explain. Resist it. Marcus Aurelius faced critics throughout his entire reign. Roman senators who questioned his decisions, philosophers who doubted his sincerity, enemies who spread false accounts of his character. He didn't write public rebuttals. He didn't summon his critics to defend himself. He continued to lead, with the same quiet discipline he applied to everything else. 2,000 years later, his critics have no names. He is called the greatest philosopher-emperor who ever lived. The Stoics understood something critical here. When you explain yourself to people who have already decided what they think of you, you're not correcting their perception. You're confirming their power over you. You're showing them that their opinion is capable of pulling you off center. The person who cannot be replaced is the person whose center cannot be moved by outside pressure. Now, there is a crucial distinction to hold here. Not explaining yourself is not the same as not caring. Cato cared deeply about Rome. He simply understood that some arguments can't be won with words. They can only be demonstrated through time. His choice to live with integrity, even when it cost him everything, was the most powerful argument he ever made. And it was conducted entirely in silence. Your actions, sustained over time, will do more to correct false perceptions than any explanation ever could. Let them do that work. Rule 4. Build yourself in private. Never announce what you are becoming. There's a version of growth that is performed, and there's a version that is real. The performed version posts about the journey. It shares the milestone as it's happening. It narrates the transformation in real time, collecting acknowledgement along the way. This isn't wrong, but it is weak, because it outsources your motivation to external response. The real version looks like Epictetus, before anyone knew who he was. A man born into slavery. No platform, no audience, no social proof. He didn't announce that he was developing a philosophy of freedom. He simply lived it. He worked on his mind the way a craftsman works on his material, quietly, consistently, without looking up to see if anyone was watching. And when people finally encountered him, they couldn't explain what they were feeling. They just knew. This person is different. This person has something I can't easily find elsewhere. The Stoic principle here is simple. Withdraw into yourself. Do the work that matters, in the place where it actually happens, which is inside you, invisible to everyone else. The modern world has made this genuinely difficult. Every platform rewards announcement. Every algorithm rewards visibility. And so you're conditioned to believe that work which isn't seen is work that doesn't count. The Stoics would tell you the opposite is closer to truth. The work that isn't seen is often the only work that compounds, because you're doing it for the right reason, not for the response it generates, but because you're becoming someone worth being. Try this. Choose one goal that matters to you. Don't talk about it for 30 days. Don't post about it. Don't mention it in conversation. Just work. Pay attention to what that silence does to your focus. The results will speak when they're ready, and they will speak far louder than any announcement you could have made. Rule 5. Know when to leave, and leave without theater. One of the least discussed Stoic principles is also one of the most powerful: the willingness to walk away cleanly. Not dramatically, not with a final statement designed to be remembered. Clean, quiet, final. Most people stay too long. In jobs that have stopped challenging them, in relationships that have stopped respecting them, in environments that have started shrinking them. They stay because leaving feels like failure, because staying is easier than the uncertainty on the other side, because some part of them believes if they wait long enough, things will change. The Stoics didn't share that belief. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not over external events. The practical application of that principle is exact. You can't control whether people value you. You can't control whether an environment deserves your best work. You can only control whether you stay. Cato understood this completely. When Rome moved toward the tyranny he had spent his life opposing, he didn't spiral into desperation. He didn't beg for one more chance. He withdrew, with full dignity. He understood that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is to remove your presence from a situation that no longer deserves it. Here is what happens when you leave without theater. People who previously took your presence for granted suddenly feel what they couldn't feel when you were there. Not because you calculated it that way, because absence reveals value that proximity had made invisible. But here is the critical point. The reason to leave is never to be missed. The reason to leave is because staying is no longer consistent with who you are. Every time you stay somewhere that has stopped deserving you, you send a message to yourself. You tell your own mind, my standards are negotiable. And once you teach yourself that, it becomes very difficult to stop. Leave when it is time. Do it cleanly. Trust that what you built goes with you. Rule 6. Stop needing to be chosen. Choose yourself first. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from waiting. Waiting to be recognized. Waiting for the promotion that finally acknowledges your work. Waiting for the person to see what you bring. Waiting for the room to realize you belong in it. The Stoics had no patience for this, not because they were arrogant, but because they understood where self-worth actually comes from. Epictetus was, by every external measure, a person with no power. He was a slave, no status, no property, no social standing. But he possessed something that his owner did not, and could not touch. A completely sovereign inner life. His mind was his own. His values were his own. His sense of his own worth was generated entirely from within. Not from position, not from recognition, not from being chosen. He wasn't waiting for anyone to validate him. He had already decided who he was. That is the most radical thing a person can do in any era. And in this era, where entire industries are built around engineering your need for external validation, it's almost countercultural. Here is the truth about the people who become genuinely irreplaceable. They stopped needing to be chosen long before anyone started trying to choose them. Their energy comes from a source that doesn't require external fuel, and people can feel that. It's not magnetism you can manufacture. It's the quiet signal that this person's sense of themselves is not available for negotiation. You don't need to announce this. You don't need to perform it. You simply need to make the internal decision, repeatedly, until it becomes your default, that your opinion of yourself is the one that governs your behavior. When you stop needing to be chosen, you become the kind of person people quietly fear losing, because they sense, correctly, that you'll be fine without them. And that is rare enough to be irreplaceable. Rule 7. Become the person whose absence creates a void. Not through need, but through transformation. The final rule is the one that separates everything that came before it from something larger. Ask yourself this question, and answer it honestly. If you stepped out of the lives of the people closest to you right now, what would they lose? Not your time, not your help, not your availability. What would they lose? In themselves? Marcus Aurelius is not remembered because he kept the empire running. Thousands of administrators kept empires running. He is remembered because his way of thinking, the precision of it, the honesty of it, the refusal to look away from difficulty, made everyone who encountered it sharper, more honest with themselves, more capable of sitting with hard truths. He didn't create dependence. He created transformation. That is the highest standard the Stoics set for a human life. Not to be needed, not to be liked, not even to be admired. To be the kind of presence that makes the people around you better at thinking, at deciding, at holding themselves to a standard they might not have found without you. This is the difference between being indispensable because you do things for people, and being irreplaceable because of what being around you does to people. The first can be replicated. Someone else can do the tasks. The second cannot, because it comes from everything you built. The depth from Rule 1, the restraint from Rule 2, the integrity from Rule 3, the quiet discipline from Rule 4, the standards from Rule 5, the self-sovereignty from Rule 6. When all of that is present in a single person, the effect on others isn't something you can fake. It is the accumulated weight of a life built deliberately. 7 rules. None of them are about performing. None of them are about appearing valuable. All of them are about becoming something that cannot be replicated. Master one thing until comparison stops making sense. Speak less than you know. Let your actions carry the argument across time. Build in private. Leave when it is time. Choose yourself before you ask anyone else to, and make the people around you better simply by being fully who you are. The Stoics didn't build this philosophy to be impressive. They built it to be useful. And the most useful thing it can do for you is this. Stop making you chase what already lives inside you. Waiting